Hey guys, I'm Jordy, and as we're likely a couple months out from ULDUAR, I wanted to start getting to know the fights better in one of World of Warcraft's most beloved raids. While I've never done ULDUAR before, many of you have, so I took this opportunity to do a little boss guide review with my chat so we could all get to know the fights better together. Alright, enjoy. And if you're wanting more ULDUAR content, come by my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Jordy. We'll be doing a lot more of these in the coming days and weeks. This is the first in a 4-part series about the ULDUAR raid instance. We're going to go over the boss guides that people have put out over some time. Why am I wearing a jacket? Because it's cold in the house. And the goal being to get a good familiarity of the bosses before we get on the PTR, which should be in the next month or two. I don't know when the PTR is going to come up. I'm really excited about it. Everyone loves ULDUAR, and so I really want to get a good feel for it before the raid starts, so that I have a basic understanding of all the fights. And Nelly, no, I need my hands to speak. It's called gesticulating, and yeah, this is the first of 14 bosses, I believe. Flame Leviathan. This is probably considered the worst of the 14. It's a vehicle fight. I think vehicle fights at the time were considered pretty cool, but since then players have found out, oh, this actually is not as fun as we want it to be. And yeah. So yeah, when this came out, I think it was pretty rad. I remember everybody really liking it, but and it was like really hype for this to be the first raid boss in the instance, you know what I mean? But since then I think players have soured to it, so we'll see how it goes. I have a feeling it's going to be a pain in the ass, but yeah. So I'm going to rewind and we can listen to what he's saying, but can you guys hear well enough?
So you can see that I've taken on a demolisher here. There are a number of different vehicles throughout. So this is actually going to be a run where we're taking a few people that have not done this before. So you'll see a few deaths. It's kind of
louder,
world, right? Now you see the vehicles up front. Now those are effectively tanks, and the tanks tend to take those. They have a shield ability.
Better.
They're the ones that need to go and tank the larger mobs. Now these towers you see us destroying. Hard mode is to not destroy any of these towers.
So he says hard mode's not to destroy these towers. These are not the towers. He's mistaken. These are just pillars that summon mobs. The towers are on the left or the right. You know what I mean? They do different things, but
mode, just to show you what's going on. So
we're gonna do easy mode.
The little dudes that are running around, they don't do much damage.
So I know on this fight you can select 3 different vehicles. You can select the tanks, the demolishers, and the motorbikes. And they each do different things. And you'll want people doing different things depending on their eye level. I think the demolishers do the lion's share of the damage, and so the higher eye level players want to be in the demolishers, if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
But it's worth killing.
And I just want to preface all this. I don't know all that much about ULDUAR. All I know is like the various boss guides that I've already been watching, and so if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'm learning about this too. I've never done ULDUAR. I'm really excited about it, and so, but yeah.
Now, as a demolisher, you've got a couple of tasks. You've got 2 main abilities. You can see I'm shooting with sort of just a fireball.
His UI is pretty great. This is not a Tankspot video. We'll get into the Tankspot videos. The Tankspot only had a really good hard mode version of this fight, which we can talk about.
When you take over one of these vehicles. Now, there are a number of things that you need to watch when you're doing this fight if you've not done it before. So the first thing is that you get some aerial vehicles. You can see in front of me right now. Did
I watch the not Tankspot video you linked me? I don't know if I did, Cassie. Pre-Tankspot. Let's see. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't. I'll watch that later for sure.
Helicopters. Now, the gunners that are
Ciderhelm's OG max kill.
That's the vehicle I'm driving
Nice.
at the moment. I have a passenger. Now, they have an aerial gun capability that you can use to shoot those helicopters down.
So notice the tanks have a turtle shield type
what
thing.
You're doing is you're heading all the way down to where the boss is. Now, you'll take damage throughout all
I imagine
this,
it's a shield wall
less
of some
damage
kind.
if you're used to it, and more damage if you're not used to it. Tank the big guys. Always watch behind you as well. because you get some.
So if you see on the left here, this is a tower.
Robot that will come in from behind you.
This is a tower.
There is a bug in this instance here, unfortunately. There is a tower that you can aggro on the left-hand side very easily by accident. And
there's another tower on the right
bug,
also.
And it means that it places you in combat. And even when you beat the boss, you'll still be in combat. The only way to drop this is to run out of the instance. So be aware of that. If you're wondering why you can't res anybody at the end of the instance,
right there.
Then that's
so there's these spider bots.
And, run back in again, and it will reset. So here's one of the spiders that's come out from behind. These spiders can do a lot of damage. They'll need to be tanked. If you look at
so there's the motorbike down here.
In front of us,
the demolishers.
Shield was appearing on it. Now the passenger can activate the shield and tank that.
Yeah, and so there are different roles in each vehicle, right? So like there are multiple people in the tanks. I think there are multiple people in the demolishers, and then I think on a bike you can like pick up a passenger and throw them, right? And so
robot spider there
each player has a different job.
Little look behind me to see another spider, and that's something to be aware of as well. Now hopefully you can see these little blue barrels that are dropping out of the sky on parachutes. If you wonder what those are, they're effectively resupply for our pyrite barrels, which are the thing that we're going to use later on when we get to the boss for doing a large amount of damage when the boss is in a position to be damaged heavily. And when we get there,
so they're picking up these
so we can see
pyrite barrels
coming down the ramp up on the left there, and I'm in a position to get ready to start making sure that we can do some AoE damage on that spider straight away.
So they haven't killed any towers yet, as far as I can tell.
And it hurts quite hard.
Right?
Now the other thing that you'll see zipping around in this video are people on little motorbikes. Now those have got a very important job later on, particularly at the boss, and they effectively can take passengers.
There's the tower.
Need to go and pick up people when
they have to kill
the boss and take them back to the vehicles in a little while. So you'll see that happen when we get to the boss. This is a very straightforward encounter. It's a little tricky if you've not seen it before. It's also tricky if you've got any button bar mods and you can't see all of the buttons. We had a couple of raid members when we first started doing this, which, let's face it, wasn't very long ago, that had their pet bars only showing the first 4 buttons.
Yeah.
And they were missing some very important buttons.
That's a problem.
The Demolisher, the one that I'm driving at the moment, there's a special button which is effectively launch passenger. And what it'll do is the passenger can load
okay, so the Demolisher is the passenger launcher
of the boss. Now that needs to be done when we get to the boss, and it needs to be done for.
Okay, so now it looks like he's attacking the tower.
So this is the tower that's been aggroed. You can see it shooting. I'm targeting it here to show you.
Bikes pick them up.
It's been
okay.
shooting at us for a little while in this encounter, and it's now bugged. It can't be destroyed, and that's the thing that's putting us.
Can't be destroyed.
Okay. Now the other thing that you can notice in this encounter, when you get all the way down to where the gate is, the boss comes through that gate up ahead, is that there'll be little platforms. Now I'm driving towards one of these platforms here. Now these are repair platforms.
Repair platforms.
If you drive onto these platforms, you effectively get all of your energy back, all of your health back.
I mean, he's almost full health as it is.
Of the boss a lot more easily. Now we've already.
So Warcraft Logs was just talking about recently. They might make the speed run start time be on Flame Leviathan's death. So as Flame Leviathan dies, your speed run starts. That's your 000. Which I think is a really great idea. A lot of people are like, well, we want Flame Leviathan in. Because the gate after Flame Leviathan is a really good like starting signal, you know what I mean? I really like the idea of doing it on his death because there's a literal timestamp for it, and you can do the hard mode, which takes more time to do the hard mode, right? Because he's got like a bunch of buffs and shit without killing the towers. Yeah, Joe. But what's interesting about doing it with his death is that you're immediately saved, right? So there's no garbage resetting. You know what I mean? Like today, I don't know if you guys, I know Joe, you watched it. I saw you. We're watching Salad Baker speedrun. They reset after they got a couple deaths on Patchwork, right? And that's not fun for anybody. No one likes it. Some people might like watching people mauled about it, but no one likes watching, yeah, Snickers, exactly. Watching people reset. So yeah, hopefully...
Already completed this encounter with a team.
Hopefully everybody agrees that that's a cool idea. I like it. And Brazy, thanks for the follow.
Platforms and just go for the boss.
Yeah, I like the heightened stakes too. As soon as you're saved, it's like, okay, well, this is our run.
Shooting those barrels out of the sky to make sure that we've got some reloads.
So these ads are coming in.
Some extra mobs that have come down here and attacking me, so I've called out on Ventrilo that we...
No, Siffy, I wouldn't say they're washed up. They just got a 10th fastest speedrun time in the world. I mean, that seems pretty good to me, man.
Which is just good teamwork. It does require Ventrilo to make sure that these encounters work well. When you're DPSing these dudes at the end, make sure you take one side first. Don't aggro everything. We take the right and then the left, and it just makes it easier.
I mean, the run wasn't the cleanest, but nice Gnome Knuckle. All right, so it looks like they're about to start the boss fight.
So in a moment, you'll see the boss start to arrive.
I don't know what the trigger start is for the boss.
That are floating around in the sky.
Looks like they have to pop the gate.
The Flame Leviathan. Now,
I've never done ULDUAR before, no.
Pursue random raid members. Now, those raid members will need to be running away. Some of these vehicles have what's called a boost, which allows them to go faster. So use that if necessary, and you'll take quite a lot of raid damage during this. Now, sometimes people will be ejected from their vehicles. Either
when you pass a certain line by the RP platforms, Brand starts dark. Okay. Gotcha. So there was an RP happening. That's what they were waiting for the.
Now, when you go on top of this flame,
this is a boss guide from someone named Matt Smith, that came out 13 years ago. I'll post a link for you guys. It's at the time I'm at. And not the doctor. And this is a normal boss guide. We'll go back and look at hard modes later. The hard mode strategy is different, but I wanted to just get a good sense of what the strategy is for this.
You've got a very important job. What you'll need to do before the raid starts, if you've never done this boss before, is to allocate 2 people on the boss duty. Now, these 2 people, you'll have 1 healer and 1 DPS, and they'll need to be riding as passengers in the demolishers. So I've got a healer with me.
And then you're supposed to throw them on top of him, right?
One of our main class leaders for healing, and he is going to be launched up on top of this vehicle. Now, you'll notice, hopefully, that there's this vehicle, when you start to play this instance, there's a stacking buff that this vehicle gets, where its damage gets higher and higher and higher. Now, on top of this vehicle, there's an encounter that you have to do individually. It's like a button. You have to DPS, push the buttons. I've never done it myself, so I'm a bit vague on it, but if you've got a DPS and a healer, those are the 2 that need to be shot up there. The healer needs to heal DPS, the DPS needs to DPS on top of the tank.
Okay.
Push a button, and that causes the...
Do you guys know when you get launched on top of the Flame Leviathan, are you like in a vehicle also, and you're just like... Or are you allowed to move around? Does anybody know? Because how... You're DPSing standing still. Can't move. You're locked in place. Okay. So it's like you're in a vehicle and you're just because it doesn't make sense that you'd be like out in the world on top of this thing, right?
Flame Leviathan to
exactly influence, yeah.
Sort of a meltdown mode where he takes a significant amount more damage.
Biggest run was 52 minutes.
So I'm going to launch up on top of this Flame Leviathan, my passenger, shortly. It's a little tricky to do the launch.
I think a Gary is a good idea, but there's a lot of movement in this fight, so Gary might not actually work very well because it would have to follow.
get it
5630,
right,
nice.
and it's a little tricky sometimes. So try it out a few times if you've never done this before, and eventually you'll get it right. So this Flame Leviathan,
yeah, notorious,
is going to go into this sort of melt.
So you want a melee range, really, or a melee class up there.
Very significant damage to the vehicle.
So he's gonna pop the thing there. Its circuit's overloaded, and then they're gonna throw these pyrite barrels now, and watch his health just plummet.
And I'm now spamming the pyrite
and
barrels.
look at these stacks.
See that the damage that's being done is
They're stacking a bunch of damage, and they're just blasting.
The majority of the Flame Leviathan's health down to beat the encounter. Again, it's just an introduction.
Yeah, and then this is a really easy fight.
If you've never done it before, the chances are you'll end up with a few dead. It's a bit tricky for the
I say that
to
there's
go around
1, 2,
and pick
3,
people
4,
up.
5, 6, 7,
People are
8.
on
There's
top.
9 people dead
But
right
with
now.
practice, you'll get very good at this encounter. It's effectively free loot once you know what you're doing.
But they got it. So yeah, we can. Do you guys want to watch the quick hard mode version? What's the quick hard mode version?
Welcome back to the ULDUAR Raid Guide. My name's Ciderhelm, I'm the administrator of Tankspot.com, and in this video I'll show you our Flame Leviathan 4-tower hard mode strategy. If you'd like more information or would like to learn
First of all, Ciderhelm, really great presentation.
more about downloading this movie, click more info on the movie information box on YouTube to head directly to Tankspot. Also, be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to the right so you'll be automatically notified as we release new movies.
Movies.
For the purposes of this movie, I'm going to assume that the viewer understands the general functions and abilities of each of the 3 vehicles and understands the functionality
Yeah,
of the
Ciderhelm's a
Leviathan.
legend.
The 4-tower Flame Leviathan encounter is a highly complex encounter which will test the coordination of your raiders. With all 4 towers active, Flame Leviathan has over 350 million health. The primary goals in this encounter
350 million versus how? Let's see. See how much he had before. We watched this one.
There, you'll notice the shield.
Oh my gosh. So he was at 500. He had 50 million at 72%. So that's like 65 million. So he's got like 4 times the amount of health.
Welcome back to click more info on subscribe by clicking the subscribe. Viewer understands the general functions and abilities of each of the 3 vehicles and understands the functionality of the Flame Leviathan. The 4-tower Flame Leviathan encounter is a highly complex encounter which will test.
There's some patches that nerfed its HP. Well, we're supposed to get pre-nerf, so we'll see.
Active, Flame Leviathan has over 350 million health. The primary goals in this encounter are 1.
Well, if he has 75 million RAM,
as this increases damage and also reduces.
I guess it's more than 4. It's like between 4 and 5
keep
times.
10 stacks of pyrite rolling on him from all demolishers as often as possible. 3. Keep him interrupted the moment he casts flame vents. And 4. Avoid unnecessary damage at any cost, including a loss of pyrite.
Well, Venerian, in sorry, Ram, they're talking about in speedrun situations that the speedrun start time is on Flame Leviathan's death. But in World First Prog, yeah, you're not doing a hard mode Flame Leviathan. There's no way.
The encounter has a soft and rage mechanic due to the constant AoE damage going out throughout the encounter. Choppers will be the first vehicles to be destroyed from this, and they'll often go down before the encounter is finished. In our strategy, we use 5 demolishers but only 4 siege engines and choppers. By doing this, we have 3 extra players who we can cycle for launches on Flame Leviathan. 3 of our demolishers and 3 of our choppers are responsible for launch teams.
Yeah, shiggity.
Our launch teams consist of 2 groups of 3 players each.
Why would you start it on his poll and require it be done on hard mode? I think that people
who are able to keep pyrite supplied for the driver
don't feel like Flame Leviathan is a fight that should be included in a speedrun. Maybe there's I don't know. I kind of agree. I'm not totally interested in speedrunning this fight. Maybe I am. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know.
In general,
I like the idea. Because if you don't want to reset this fight 1,000 times because you didn't do it perfectly right. You know what I mean? And that would happen a lot if Sensei Tree, thank you. If this was part of the speed run, right? I think that part of the meta right now is like resetting the trash for the first trash pool, right? But I don't agree, because you would reset 1 billion times to get the perfect set of RNG on this, and no one finds this fun, right? And I think that starting the raid on this, on the encounter end here, is a really good idea, because you don't have to worry about min-maxing this fight 1 billion times to get it absolutely perfect, when you could just do it on fight end, and then you don't have to worry about resetting ever again, because that's just your thing. I think it's just a matter of taste. I see your point too, but I don't know. I don't think it's that big a deal either way.
Each of these two groups will consist of 1 hybrid DPS healer and 2 ranged DPS.
Well, Cardinal Crazy, you can't, because how do you... this encounter will reset if you wipe. So how do you not let them reset, right? Like, you just don't include that part of your log. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't... everything resets once the boss resets. You know what I mean? So...
ideally mages. The advantage to mages is that they can blink away towards their demolishers again once the Flame Leviathan turrets have been destroyed. The DPS healer is responsible for throwing a quick heal to the other 2 players while on Flame Leviathan, only if their health is low. Also, if this is a shaman, they can provide a heroism on one of the earlier launches. When an overload is nearing, choppers go near Flame Leviathan and watch for their assigned player to be launched off of the Leviathan. Though in many cases, the demolishers can be near enough that a player does not need to be
actually,
picked
you know
up.
what I should do? I should boot up Chatterino. So you guys, I can include chat in the VOD.
There are frequently times when it is advantageous to do so. Players who are launched but cannot blink should cancel their parachutes quickly and enter the chopper to receive a quick heal. The chopper needs to return the DPSer to the assigned demolisher and stay directly on top of the demolisher until the passenger has been transferred. Moving even a small distance away too soon can prevent the passenger from being able to jump from one vehicle to the next. Generally, we prefer to have the current demolisher gunners wait until the moment overload ends before they jump into the launch position. This allows the demolisher to maximize DPS during the overload, and as the player in the launch position will lock out abilities and cannot be launched early, this is the best way of handling this.
Okay.
As soon as a demolisher gunner switches into the launch position, the passenger in the chopper jumps into the vehicle and takes on his responsibilities. To keep a very...
This is intense. This is an intense fight. Like, doing it hard mode sounds like there's a lot of things happening. You're jumping different vehicles. Mages are DPSing and then blinking so that they don't get hit by anything on the way. There's like a lot of little things to min max, which is cool. I think you could 4-tower week 1 very likely. I think you could.
Smooth transition between choppers and demolishers, we assign raid icons to each of the 2 launch players assigned to a demolisher. Choppers are expected to remember the 2 icons for the demolisher they are transporting to. At any given time, one of those icons should be on Flame Leviathan or in the passenger seat, and one of them should be in the demolisher. For a small boost in DPS, we launch our first launch team immediately at the beginning of the encounter.
First launch team at the...
We also launch a 4th player from a demolisher without a rotation who will help out only on the first
Oh my
overload.
god, there's a lot going on here.
After this point, that player will return to his or her vehicle without the assistance of a chopper and will not be launched again. Since each demolisher starts with 10 pyrite launches available, you can expect to knock off between 10% and 18% of Flame Leviathan's health up to and through the first overload. Also, since the first overload will come quicker than the rest due to the fourth player, the first target he pursues should not be reached if they stay in the corner where the encounter begins.
Okay.
For DPS reasons, the two demolishers who are not launching players are the two players with the highest average eye level in the raid. This allows more flexibility throughout the encounter to be near Pyrite.
So like I was saying, there's a lot of eye level things going on here. So if you guys get some like shitty eye level or high eye level like shitty drops that you don't need in Malagos or Sartharian or off KT, stuff like plate shoulders that are healing when you're a warrior or stuff like that, you want to keep those, because when living ice crystals, stuff like that, when you're doing this fight, your damage will be higher the higher eye level you are. So consider passing those out to your raiders or rolling on something that might not be good for you because you're a warrior and you're getting played or whatever the fuck, because it'll be good. You want a 226 eye level set, like paladins, warriors, even shamans. Like there's a lot of lower armor class gear that you're just probably rotting already that you're not going to use, like leather boots or whatever the fuck, which will be good for you. The clothies, you kind of are stuck. You know what I mean? Save honor for PvP gear. I mean, you can only save up to 75,000 honor, right? So it's like,
and allows for the maximum potential DPS from players who can deal the most damage. Finally, during times when Pyrite is scarce, spacing out Pyrite
Cosmo, thanks, man,
is a good pacing mechanism.
for the gifted.
It's generally best to fire
Send me
faster
stuff on
during
disc.
overload.
Holy shit, guys. You want to see some cool shit? Look at this. Look at this. And then, yeah, exactly, dude. That's exactly right. This is perfect. I love it so much, dude. This is great. I love it so goddamn much. I love you. I love you. I love you. This is exactly what I was thinking. You are the GOAT. This is exactly right. And then, yeah, exactly. It's so perfect. I don't deserve it. You're amazing. All good, man. Thank you so much, guys. This is going to be the intro for the ULDUAR boss guides. So yeah, RuneScape viewers. All right.
Though, because the Pyrite also does damage on impact.
So we're not going to go too much more into detail on this fight.
As always, feel free to ask questions or add suggestions.
It's kind of one of those fights where it's like, okay, it's the first fight. You'll figure it out. There's not a whole lot that you can fuck up eventually, because you just have like 4 buttons, right? So you're just going to do your job. And yeah, Morgan's home and she's... This is love. This is pure love. Both ways. Exactly, Cosmo. But yeah, that's what that looks like. All right. What is the Latin in the logo saying? Oh, Meshuggah, good eye. Guess what it says? Guess what it says? Here, I'll pull it up. Is it gone? It does not say subscribe with Twitch Prime. It says, hi, how are you? It's a funny little joke. It's a line that Yogg Saron says. It says adorante deum ante mortem. Adorante deum ante mortem, which means bow down before the god of death. Which is hilarious, and I love it. Because that's what Yogg says to you. In a whisper. So yeah. All right. Sorry. Back to we're gonna move on to Ignis. Cosmo, thanks, man. That looks really good. I like that. I want exactly that. It's perfect. My only feeling is like, how could I implement like Geordie in there? There we go. Geordie School War. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Perfect. So good. I love it so much. All right. Ignis. Tankspot, a guide to Ignis.
I'm the administrator of Tankspot.
Okay, so Ignis is the second. You'd need mortis then, genitive, not accusative. Sorry to be. Do you know Latin, Mashugana? Because we can change that to what is it? What should it be? I should have asked somebody who knows Latin. I just Google translated that. Morgan's sneezing. Everyone says bless you, Morgan. He says thanks. You did your master's in classics. Let me make sure. Okay, so yeah, it's bow down before the god of death. If you want to let me know what it is, that would be great. All right, here we go. So Ignis is the second boss, or one of the second or third boss. This is a optional boss. It's not required. There's no hard mode, and for first clears and for speedruns, you probably won't do Ignis. I bet you they don't require Ignis for a speedrun or a first clear. Well, for first clear, I know they won't. For speedruns, I don't think so. They might. We'll see. Not a big deal, but so yeah, Ignis is this fire giant, similar to the fire giant that you fight in whatchamacallit? Elden Ring. Except you probably aren't going to cut his leg off. Spoiler. So yeah, here we go. Ignis.
Tankspot.com, and in this video I'll show you our Ignis strategy. If you'd like more information or would like to learn more about downloading this movie, click more info on the movie information box on YouTube to head directly to Tankspot. Ignis requires less raid movement than most encounters in ULDUAR. However, he has a series of unique abilities that have to be coordinated through the length of the encounter.
Well, Sam Squinch, you can go back and do this boss after you're done with your speedrun, right? This boss and Razorscale, they're just hallways. Massive thing on my ass. They're just hallways off the main drag, right? So you can go to the end and then just take a teleporter back and clear these bosses. So you know what's up, Sasquatchel. So we'll see. I don't think it's that big a deal if it's included or not.
Give
I think
Jordy Twitch Prime right now. Thank you.
Why not require them to be killed? Because they're not really in between you and the end of the raid. You know what I mean? But I guess neither is Algalon. But yeah, maybe you do require it. It doesn't really matter either way.
In order to successfully bring him down. The first ability I'll cover is called Slagpot. Ignis will grab one of your raid members and throw them into
I think phase 2 in January.
This causes high damage to the player and it must be healed through. It's important to note that the player inside the slag pot is capable of healing themselves as well. Also, because of the random targeting of the slag pot, players handling other parts of the encounter such as Iron Construct should have backups to handle their roles in an emergency. The second ability I'll cover is called Flame Jets.
Okay, so this iron pot thing he has, it's on his belt, and he picks a random person, he throws them in, and it does you take a bunch of damage, and you do more damage if I'm not mistaken, right? So you want to remember that I don't agree with you on that one, Vanicavis. You want to remember that when you're targeted and you're put in the flame pot, you want to be pumping a bunch of damage into him while you're in there, okay? And Vanicast, I don't agree with you on that because you want to do your best attempt at aligning progression race for Warcraft logs and realm first as you can, in my opinion. If you can align those two things, then I think you're doing a good job. And not requiring these for prog means that you can skip them. Hi, Kyle. Go to the other hard mode fights and then go to Algalon. So like a full clear of progression will be Algalon and Yogg 0, probably. That's what they're talking about, which I think is a good plan. So yeah, Venerian, exactly. And so all you'll do is you'll skip 2, you'll skip maybe Oriya also if you can skip her. I don't think you can because I think you need to kill her in order to get to General Vezax, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, we'll get into that at some point, but I want to keep going.
This is an ability that Ignis casts which launches players into the air. Additionally, any player who is casting a spell when Flame Jets finishes casting is temporarily locked out of that school of magic. It is absolutely critical that casters, especially healers, are not locked out by this, so they should be paying special attention to Flame Jet casts from Ignis. The third ability I'll cover is called Scorch. This is a frontal AoE ability that will leave the stones in front of him burning. It is important that the raid avoid standing in front of Ignis for this reason.
Okay.
And it is important that the tank move out of this.
So that's
as
what that
much as
hand
possible.
thing is.
In this movie, you will notice that I'm moving Ignis in a 4-point
And then,
path when dealing
yeah,
with
he's
Scorch.
got these
We
these
chose
things
this
that he
path
puts
in
on the
part
ground.
because it is an easy to remember path that our DPS
which is
and
torching the
healers can
ground.
stay between.
So it's a 4-quadrant thing, and he's moving the boss from one corner to another corner to another. And then by the time he's back to the first one, the old one has fallen off, and he can just keep going in a circle, which is pretty easy.
Between, and because if Ignis
It's not
wants
too
to
hard.
a player to put them in the slag pot, he will come back to the appropriate corner immediately afterwards. This path also allowed reliable use of the Scorch Flame Patches for players handling Iron Constructs. The Iron Constructs are immobile and untargetable enemies you will see along the left
See
and
these
right
ads?
side when you enter the room. When Ignis is engaged, he will begin bringing these to life. While alive, Iron Constructs will provide Ignis with a stacking damage buff. If too many Iron Constructs are alive, the tank handling Ignis will no longer be able to be reliably healed. For this reason, the Iron Constructs must be dealt with immediately. When an Iron Construct spawns, a player should pick it up and move it over to the Scorch Flame Patches.
Okay.
Here they will slowly become molten. Since the flames deal considerable damage to anyone inside them, it is best that they are rooted in place by a druid once they've been positioned, so the player picking them up can lead.
Oh, I got a good shot.
Actually, we can go. Why don't we just go?
King Oswald, thank you so much for the prime, man. We're sure gonna look like Adoro typically takes Bare, whatever, so typically say Adorante Deum Mortis. There are some ecclesiastic uses with prepositions, so it could go Adorante ante Deum Mortis, which would fill the 4 boxes. Nice. We're sure I'm gonna save that right now. Was that not what we had? Oh, you put ante before Deum. Okay. Yeah, okay, so these ads spawn, these guys spawn, and then they provide a damage buff to Ignis, right? In order to stop them from doing that, you want to and they're immune. You want to drag them to the fire patches where they become molten once they're in the fire patches long enough.
Once
And then-
an Iron Construct becomes molten, it drops aggro. The player, ideally the druid that was rooting them, should break them free and use the aggro to drag them into the nearby pools
Get
of
rid of the
water.
goddamn infernal. Get
Molten
the fuck
constructs
rid
that
of the
reach
goddamn
the
fucking
water.
infernal.
Okay, so you take these constructs once they're molten into the water,
Become brittle.
then they become
Once
brittle.
they are immobile and take additional damage. They require only a single high damage attack to be destroyed. To
Easy.
guarantee damage is sufficient, we had a mage assigned to taking care of the brittle constructs. After the construct has been destroyed, Ignis loses 1 stack.
If you're assigned to constructs, you're gonna be sad. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how they do it. But your parse might get fucked if you're the one that's assigned to this. We'll probably figure out a way to like have a tank handle it or whatever. But yeah, we'll see. So that's kind of the fight. I think that's the extent of the fight. Is that you do this rotation around the circle where you're dropping these fire patches, and then an off tank is dragging these constructs into the fire to get them molten, and then dragging them into the water to break.
Back of his damage buff. In this kill, we had a single feral druid handling the first Iron Construct to spawn, and a Moonkin and Protection Warrior handling the second Iron Construct to spawn. They all
That's right. 2 protection warriors.
alternated every other construct from then on. Killing Ignis is entirely a matter of control and endurance. Once players learn the encounter, this should be one of the most reliable encounters to clear each week in ULDUAR.
Warriors on top.
Thanks for watching this movie. As always, feel free to ask questions or add suggestions either on YouTube or in the strategy thread on Tankspot.com.
His meters
Also,
are kind of broken.
Tankspot donors can
but-
download all of these movies in high definition directly from our servers. Click the second link in the movie information box to learn more.
So that's Ignis. This is one of the easier fights in here. I think it's maybe tied for the easiest, along with Razorscale, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, you'll find that if you're racing day one, you will skip this fight and you will come back to it after you do your full clear. It's a great fight, but it's definitely one of the easier ones. All right, we're gonna go to Razorscale now. Razorscale is if you're after you've left ULDUAR, Ignis is on your left, or left after you've left Flame Leviathan. Ignis is on your left and Razorscale is on your right. And then right ahead of you is XT, which we'll do after Razorscale.
Welcome back to the ULDUAR Raid Guide. My name's Ciderhelm, I'm the administrator of Tankspot.com, and in this video I'll show you our Razorscale strategy. If you'd like more information or would like to learn more about downloading this movie, click more info in the movie information box on YouTube to head directly to Tankspot. Positioning the raid in a smart way helps.
ULDUAR is not on PTR, no.
On the cliff side of the platform, which is opposite of the harpoons and your dwarven allies when you enter the room.
So you can see Razorscale is a big dragon in the air. And the goal of the fight is to fire these chain, these grappling hooks on chains at him, which drop off of these dwarves that you're going to be fighting on the ground, and then pull him to the ground, and then you DPS him. At 50%, he won't fly away anymore. So you want to get him to 50% as fast as you can, and then you can continue burning him from there. But you only have so long to burn him in phase 1 before he'll fly back up. So the goal is to skip as many air phases as you can, which with our raids DPS these days should be pretty easy to skip a lot of them. For a raid back in the day, there were probably a few air phases that you had to suffer through.
Is where enemies will enter the encounter through the use of mole machines.
Yeah,
this
girl
is where
party.
we chose to fight them. Relative to where I'm standing, several Guardians and Watchers will usually enter in random locations on both the left and right sides. Because of this, we have one tank per side dedicated to picking up these adds, and 2 separate melee DPS groups to help bring these down. Our ranged DPS and healers are spread in between the left and right sides so they can assist on either side depending on what is needed. Since healers generally get
harpoon
initial
turret.
aggro if a tank doesn't get to adds in time, healers being in the middle rather than surrounding the mole locations allows the tanks to have a general idea which way enemies will run when they enter the encounter. However, some enemies will head directly for the harpoons to attack the dwarves, so you need to keep this in mind.
So you see the harpoons are back here. He's facing towards the hallway, right? This is the hallway right here. And this is the battlefield, and the harpoons are kind of like towards the entrance.
Watchers are significantly more dangerous than Guardians and should be the immediate focus of your raid DPS. Additionally, we have 2 dedicated interrupters per side to target and prevent each Watcher from casting Chain Lightning. Since Watchers can also cast Lightning Bolt, it's important to pay attention to the cast bar and save interrupts for the Chain Lightning. Other players are also helping to interrupt the Chain Lightning whenever possible. Guardians should be killed after Watchers and cleared up any time it is possible to do so. However, they can be off-tanked in the event that DPS needs to be focused elsewhere. You'll notice we've been receiving messages about harpoons being ready.
Yeah.
Now that we've been notified that 3 of the 4 harpoons are ready to be used...
So you need to fire all 4 harpoons in order for Razorscale to be brought to the ground. And so what they're doing is they're killing the adds as time goes on, and eventually... the harpoons are all ready to go, and they will go back and they'll just fire all 4 off in succession, and then Razorscale will come down.
One of our raid members, in this case a hunter, heads back to begin
This
using
poor
them.
hunter.
The harpoons are the key to opening Razorscale to your DPS. Once all 4 have been activated,
It's cool
your
that he
dwarven allies
is,
will be able
you
to
can see
pin
his
her to the
shadow.
ground. However, Razorscale will be able to break free from her captors after a short period, so DPS only has a short window of time to bring her down.
Where did that druid go? Did you see that? Where does this druid go?
After a short period, so DPS only has a short window of time to bring her down. To accommodate this, we have one of our DPSers that is interrupting Watchers, telling our hunter, who's handling the final harpoon, when all of the Watchers have been killed. This signals to the hunter that the final harpoon should be shot immediately, and it signals to the raid to immediately move
All right.
to the center.
So this is the burn phase, right? Shadow Meld? Yeah, maybe. This is the burn phase. And so Razorscale is brought to the ground. All the harpoons are in her, and you're DPSing her. And I'm pretty sure there's nothing else going on except maybe some ads are spawning, but it's not that big a deal. And you're just blasting.
Center to get down.
If you guys have good eyes, you can see the raid DPS of each of the raid members and extrapolate from what you're seeing what the kill times are going to be with our current type of raid DPS, right? I'm not going to do a lot of the conclusion drawing for you. I'll let you be the judge, but it's definitely striking.
Damage on Razorscale. When Razorscale touches the ground, the encounter becomes a burn phase. Our goal is to reach at least 75% before she flies back up in the air. We burn Heroism the first time she's down on the ground because we're more likely to have all of our DPSers alive at this point. Before she can fly up into the air again, she will use
Some
a
brown
high
on
damage
top.
flame breath in order to destroy the turrets that are keeping her grounded. For this reason, players should make sure they are behind her. When she's done, she will use a wing buffet to knock the raid away from her, and the mole machine phase will begin again.
All right. So what's happened here is, oh, Morgan's listening to the intro for White Lotus, and I'm not only going to use this because it is so apt. It slaps. The season 2 White Lotus intro. We're stopping the video. I'm going to edit this part out. Is fucking amazing. Please go watch it. All right, here we go. We're back. I don't know, you guys can't hear it, but I'm enjoying it.
There's a third type of enemy called a Sentinel, which will spawn exclusively from the middle between
All
the
right.
left and right sides. This is what I'm tanking in this movie. These are random spawns and may come frequently or rarely, and in the case of this movie, there are very few that have spawned, so I'm just standing around for most of this. Sentinels deal a large amount of single target damage and whirlwind damage. They also gain a buff which allows them to do significantly more damage, making it ideal to use either a warrior for shield slam or another classic and purge it. Sentinels need to be killed by the ranged as soon as possible and are priority over any other enemy in the room.
Yeah.
Since they will normally occupy the area where ranged and healers are, it's important that people pay attention.
This seems like a
and move away
pretty
from them when they
sleepy
spawn.
phase.
Throughout the air phases of this encounter, Razorscale is casting fireballs and devouring flames onto the
Doesn't
ground.
it?
The devouring flames look like blue
There's
streaks
not a
coming
lot
from
going
the air
on.
that leave a small blue ball on the ground, which immediately bursts into AoE fire patches.
They got her to 68% in one burn phase. So you're really going to want to make sure that you get her to under 50 in one burn phase. Because if you have to do a second one of these, it's really going to suck. Why does he have 3 dragons and a pet crate on his bottom bar? Because he loves his mounts and his crate and his pet. Come on. You're really going to want to make sure that you get it done in one phase. Yeah, exactly.
With particle effects set to a low setting, some players will not be able to see streaks, and will need to pay special attention to the ground around them. These fire patches deal significant damage and should be treated like void zones.
What's the HP? 12.6 million. So you need to do 6.3 million in however much time. That's actually a good question, but we can math that out. I'm sure it's doable. There's like no healing to be done really during that phase either, so everybody's DPS. They already have 3 dead too. There's the
When Razorscale touches the ground the second time, our goal is to bring her below 50% before she can fly back up. At this point, she is permanently grounded and becomes a DPS race. She will still use her flame breath and wing
well, yeah,
buffet.
Grill Party, as long as it's sub 50.
First, she will apply flame
this is a debuff that the tank gets that stacks, and so this is like it's a pretty traditional tank swapping mechanic where, bless you Morgan, where you guys are so funny. I didn't hear her sneezing. Where you get enough stacks and you're gonna want to taunt off.
Continues to move her around the platform. Once my debuff
It's this one.
I'll pick her back
This
up.
is the raid wide stacking debuff.
She will still leave patches of flame on the platform. The movement speed debuff of her fuse armor.
He's moving, in my opinion, way too fast. Look how fast he's moving this mob.
Can put the tank in a position where they are unable to avoid these flames. For this reason, it is double.
There's so much distance between him and the next fire patch. I think he's moving way too much because there's nothing to be scared of between here and here, right? Yeah, he's just holding S key. I feel like his poor melee and casters are like struggling to keep up. Also, the circle that he's drawing is just massive. It's good. This is good. You'll find this is gonna be. He's definitely RP walking. I think you'll find this is similar to Illidan. There won't be a ton of movement when all is said and done. The fire patch we used to move like across this thing. Don't go anywhere near the fire, but it's like now we're just like. I'd be willing to bet you also won't need a tank swap this fight. I bet you just want. Yeah, exactly. Is you want to. Because your DPS will be high enough that your stacks won't do enough to matter, or you'll shield wall towards the end or whatever. And it's
As always, feel free to ask questions or ask suggestions either on YouTube or in the strategy thread on Tankspot.com. Also, Tankspot donors can download all of these reviews in high definition directly from our servers.
And that was a quick shave, which is the fast kill achievement, which is just going to be a joke. So, yeah. All right, we're going to move on to XT. That'll be the last one in this series. I think I'm going to do a hard mode only for XT. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll do. Yeah, we'll do hard mode XT. Hold on, I gotta use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. All right, sorry. All right, hard mode XT. Pre-watched. All right. There's a lot of pieces where you can squeeze damage from memory. It was hard not to do XT hard mode. Yeah, so XT,
Hi, I'm Lore from Tankspot.
It's
In
Lore.
this video, I'll be guiding you through the XT002 Heartbreaker hard mode achievement.
002. So you'll notice that the frame rate's going to be like 2. So, Superhuman Jesse, I think that they should be rebalanced. The question was, should Classic Wrath Wraith be rebalanced for a modern audience? I think they should be rebalanced somewhat, but not a lot. Like a little bit, probably. A little bit of health boost seems like a good idea with the amount of DPS that we're doing. All right, so they did that Molo for Nax. They increased 30% HP for Nax, and it still feels really easy. Right? Imagine if there was 30% less HP on everything in Nax right now. It would be ridiculous. No, it was not the entire expansion. They just said it was going to be for Nax. Okay, so XT is one of those fights where it has a hard mode. So you'll get more loot doing the hard mode version. The hard mode version is there is a burn phase at one point where he becomes what's the word? Immobilized, paralyzed, stunned, and his heart will pop out, and you will have to DPS the heart to 0% to trigger a frenzy, and then you have to kill the boss. So the Heartbreaker achievement is killing the heart and then killing the boss.
Hard mode is activated by killing the heart of the Deconstructor, so the fight begins as normal. You may notice a difference in positioning from our previous.
So you can't quite see. I don't know where his mini map is. It's probably somewhere awful. He doesn't have a mini map, I guess. He does have a mini map. You ready for this?
This is because if he's standing close,
the mini map is right here, but you can't see it because the Tankspot logo is over it. But either way, they're facing him against a wall that's to the right of the center of the room, right? So you come in and XT is standing there in front of you, and there's a wall to your left and there's a wall to your right, and there are these scrap piles in each corner of the walls, right? This big rectangular room, and they're facing him towards the right side of that room between two scrap.
Enough to a scrap pile, he won't spawn any robots from that pile during the heart phases. So, by tanking him directly between two piles on either side of the room.
And, if you'll notice, not a lot has changed. It's got an open ticket.
You can greatly reduce the number of ads you need to deal with. Once he's reached 75%, the heart will appear. This is the major DPS check of the encounter.
So here's the heart. He's at 75%. The heart takes 200% damage, I believe, and you need to kill it before this thing is done channeling. Watch.
You'll have 30 seconds to burn through 7.2 million health. All DPS cooldowns, including Bloodlust or Heroism, should be used at this point.
Notice the raid's not taking really any damage, yeah.
So your healers should be free to help out as well.
They barely get it.
Once the heart is destroyed, hard mode begins. He'll be healed back to full, and his health and damage will be increased.
So he's healed back to full, and his health and damage are increased. So notice the odds of you doing XT hard mode week 1, if you're going for a realm first or a title, don't do it. You'll do yeah, his UI is a mess, but it's, you know, these are old UIs. You Palipires is exactly the same though. But you won't do XT hard mode week 1. You'll do it every week after that because it's probably a pretty easy hard mode. But yeah, you won't do it week 1.
From here on,
which means you won't get your juicy Sorthalis. We've discussed it a little bit already, but it's looking like the goal of or the prog rankings will just be Yogg and Algalon, and a #1 placement will be Yogg and Algalon. Yogg 0 and Algalon dead. Everything else is free game. So you need to kill Algalon and Yogg to get your progression ranking. That means that if you're going for Death's Demise, you're probably going to forego your progression ranking, which is fine. If you're going for the Algalon title, you could get both. You can do Algalon and then you can do Yogg 0 after that.
The fight becomes very tough on the healers to keep everyone alive, particularly during tantrums. It can be very helpful to have paladins use divine sacrifice during tantrums to help lower the raid-wide.
In order to get to Alg, you need to do hard mode of the 4 keepers, which is Thorim, Hodir, Freya, and Mimiron. That's Firefighter, Freya with all the ads, all that stuff. So you don't have to do any of the other hard modes. It's just those 4.
Damage.
Okay, so let's go back to XT. So notice there's a lot of things happening. They've got a DSAC rolling. There's a lot of AoE damage happening. They're also dropping off these pools of debuffs, which you'll see here in a second.
His two main abilities, Gravity Bomb and Light Bomb,
Gravity Bomb and
receive
Light
effects
Bomb.
as well. When Gravity Bomb explodes, it will leave a void zone on the ground. Light Bomb.
So he targets a player and he applies Gravity Bomb, which will explode and leave a void zone on the ground. So you'll see them right here. You can kind of see it. He's stacking void zones in like a little pool around XT.
In addition to dealing more damage while it's on a player, will spawn a life spark when it runs
And then
out.
Light Bomb, people are dropping off over here. So Gravity Bomb is pulling to the left, Light Bomb is pulling to the right, and then Light Bomb is spawning an ad that they have to kill.
This needs to be tanked and killed immediately, as it has a raid-wide aura that deals a significant amount of nature damage every few seconds. To help deal with these new effects, we have the ranged DPS and healers stack up into one group, with the melee grouped up on the boss.
He's got
When
Light
someone
Bomb
gets
now.
Gravity
He's
Bomb,
going to
they
run
to the
out.
left, where the void zone can be placed a safe distance away from the group.
He's going to drop it
When someone
off.
gets Light Bomb, they run to the right, just far enough to avoid hitting the rest of the group.
Then the Life
Players
Spark
with Light Bomb should
spawns.
Try not to run too far to give the Life Spark tank an easier time picking them up.
And there you go.
It's also important for players with Light Bomb to give the tank time to pick up the Life Spark before doing anything that would pull aggro. It should usually start moving toward one of the healers still in the group, but it does deal a very large amount of nature damage as a melee attack. It's very easy for them to one-shot a non-tank if they're not careful. Nature Resistance Totem or Aspect of the Wild can help a lot.
Nature Resistance Totem and Aspect of the Wild. Good luck getting Ladon to do Aspect of the Wild. So here's the AoE damage. This AoE damage is pretty significant. I think you want a DSAC for every single one of these.
Once you've gotten the basics down, finishing the encounter is mostly a matter of just killing life sparks quickly and keeping everything under control. He does have a 10-minute enrage timer, but as long as you have the DPS capable of killing the heart and can keep everyone alive through the rest of the fight, you should be able to get him down before the enrage.
10-minute enrage timer. Oh no. How much health does he have? Can anybody see? 36? 36 million HP, which is a lot of health. How much health is that? How much does Patchwork have? Like, does the Zerg strat Sartharian has around 12 to 13 million HP, right? It's 2 Patchworks. Okay. I mean, that's definitely a longer fight, but that's like a 4-minute fight. Not. Yeah, you guys, 4 minutes exactly. It's a 4-minute fight. It's not a 10-minute fight. So yeah, that's a longer fight. That's like the longest fight we've had yet. But it's not. It's not a. It's a 10-minute enrage, Ramus. You have no lust. Yeah. I don't think so, Father. I bet you don't lust the heart. I bet you lust the boss. I bet you don't lust the heart. I bet you the heart is pretty easy to kill and you lust the boss. Better uptime. Yeah, it might be like it's probably a 4 to 5 minute fight. Jesse says you lost the boss, yeah. This fight's, it doesn't look like anything changes. So it's just, if you have a gravity bomb on you, you go left, you drop it off. If you have the light bomb, you go right, you drop it off. Tank picks up the ad. Everybody just DPS is the boss and you heal through the thing. This is honestly probably one of the more fun parsing fights in the game. Especially as a warrior, because you're going to be getting a lot of rage. But yeah. Three death wish uses. You'll probably just use it twice. What's the cooldown on Death Wish? 3 minutes still? You use it early and you use it at the end. It's 2 minutes? Yeah, maybe you do get 2 then. Or maybe you do get 3. Depends. This is also a fight that I think that you want to make sure that you have enough paladins to have a DSAC for every tantrum. This is a long fight for these guys. I mean, he's sped it up, and it's 650, right? So this is a long fight for them. Is there a DPS meter? Can you guys can't see the DPS meter. The rogue's at 6,500 at the top there. 6,700. So this thing's gonna fall over. The rep pally's at 5k. There's 3 warriors between 5 and 6k DPS. I love it. They brought 4 warriors. They know what they're doing. Giga Chads bring 4 warriors to a raid. Exactly pumping. The raid looks like shit. They got a DSAC rolling. Okay, they made it through the tantrum. The tantrums are spooky. But it should be fine. And he's gonna fall over. Boom, boom, boom. 2 million HP left. 5%.
Thanks for watching this video. As always, if you'd like more information on
any idea on the tantrum cooldown? I don't know.
If you're watching this on YouTube, just follow the link in the movie details. Good luck.
Sure, somebody knows. All right, there it is. Probably a minute, maybe. Okay, so that's XT. What's up, Asher? 1 minute? Yeah, that sounds right. Thank you guys for being here. My plan is to continue this series. I'm going to post this VOD to YouTube in the morning. I have four videos that I'm going to do with these. This is just kind of getting to know ULDUAR as a group. A lot of people have experience. I don't have any experience in ULDUAR except for what I've been learning from these videos. So if you guys enjoyed this, come back tomorrow at, let's do 6 p.m.
Twitch Prime right now.
Thanks, Panamera. 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll do another set of bosses. We'll do Iron Council, we'll do Algalon, we'll do Oriya, and we'll do Algalon. Because those are the next 4. Algalon, you kind of go back 4 after you get the key, but you'll do it in that order. After your first time killing him. Yeah, and so yeah, come back tomorrow at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, and we'll do more. These are really fun. I really like doing these with everybody. Knowing your guys' experience is really helpful, and it helps me get to know the bosses really well. I'm really excited for ULDUAR, and I've got a lot planned. I've got boss guides I'm planning. I've got a lot of art being built. You guys already saw the stuff that Chase is working on for me. I mean, this is super dope. Kurgi, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, I got a good shot.